This is not my first time showing up on camera looking like this, and it probably won't be the last time. It definitely won't be the last time. So you better get comfortable with what you see. But nonetheless, today is Sundays, and like I promised, I am back with another Reaction Sundays, and I am combining the things that you guys like the most. My hair and spooky things. So today, I won't be the one telling the spooky story because I did tell 26 minutes of spooky story earlier in this video. So this time, I'm going to allow other creators the chance to tell their stories, and I'm also going to react to their spooky stories because, yeah, we can do that. All right. In the meantime, I don't know if you guys know, but I have been bedridden with the flu. I'm pretty sure it was the flu. Like, you couldn't convince me it wasn't the flu. I had all the telltale signs. Like, I had chills, muscle aches, chest pain. I was hot and cold. First of all, the first day I couldn't even sweat. I had a terrible Wednesday and Thursday. I was drowsy as fuck. I'm still coughing. But yeah, y'all, that was straight up awful. But it's Sunday, so I'm back now, and I feel a lot better than I did Thursday or Wednesday. Those days are behind me now, thank God. And yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to do my hair all week because it's been like this, as you guys can see. Now, if you ever doubted that I really did have 4C hair, maybe this is the time that you apologize. I'll wait. Thank you. All right, so let's get into these reactions while I use Moisture Miracle Pre-Poo. Whoever put me onto Pre-Poo, by the way, you deserve my first child. But we're gonna detangle this hair. As you can see, like, nothing is gonna get through this. Certainly not a comb, okay? But watch how easy it's gonna be using the Moisture Miracle Pre-Poo. That was a lot, Milo. They'd be like, be humble. We're ready to start. This one is titled, It Was Not Human. Oh.
Listen up, y'all. There are beings that is walking this earth, and they are not human. I just came from Kroger's. I just got off of work. I went to go pick up a few items, y'all. I go to the bread aisle. Now, the bread aisle is super long. I'm at one end of the bread aisle. There's a guy that's about 3/4 of the way down in the bread aisle. He got a cart. I got a cart. He's looking at me. And you know how you can see out your peripheral that somebody's staring at you. He ain't just looking, but he's staring at me. I kind of look his way. He's still staring. I go ahead and I get my bread. I go back around the other way because I'm going to the international aisle to get some pasta and some other stuff. While I'm in the international aisle at one end, this guy comes around and he's at the top of the same aisle. I see him still looking at me. Now, mind you, there's a couple of things that I need to get out of that aisle. So the first part of the aisle, I grab what I need to grab and I go about midways down. He's at the other end. So he's staring at me still. So I kind of look at him and I go like, how you give somebody that type look? He's still staring. So I'm looking for what I'm looking for. I can't really find it because he's throwing me off because he keeps staring. Mind you, this man don't have nothing in his cart. He's not even turned to look at any food. He's looking directly at me. By this time, I'm like, you know what? I'm not on it. I'm about to just stare you down. So I turn to look at him. Y'all, when I tell you, this man stared at me and his eyes turned black. Everything in his whole eyeball, not just the pupil, but the white part, turned completely black. He looked, it said black, and then he walked away. When I tell you I left that cart sitting in that aisle, I didn't even buy nothing from Kroger's. I left out and I came home. There is stuff, there is beings that is walking in this earth, and they at the store, they at whatever, they look like us and everything else, but they are not human. I don't even know what to say.
So I went to the grocery store with one of my former best friends. At the time, I want to say maybe it was like 2021, right? And there was this guy when we got to the grocery store. Like, when I tell you, like, every time I saw him, I just felt uneasy. Like, his eyes were black. Like, he was this Caucasian guy. He had like white and black hair. Like, he looked kind of old, you know what I'm saying? But every time he used to, like, he basically was like walking past my homegirl, and he was kind of moving suspicious. And me at the time, I'm wondering, like, why does he keep moving so close to this girl? Why? Like, maybe because my friend was attractive, so I'm like, maybe he's just trying to talk to her. But at the same time, I'm feeling this like weird energy, weird vibes from him. It's not just giving stalker, it's giving something else. So after, like, mind you, the whole time I'm watching him at the store, like, my friend is shopping, and I keep telling my friend, like, hurry up, I'm not in a good mood. Like, my mood is literally getting spoiled. It's like every corner that my friend turns into in the grocery store, like, the guy would like pop up in the corner and just stare, or walk down the aisle, or be behind her, and he had like this weird look in his eyes as if he was lifeless. And I kept telling my friend, like, Lil, let's hurry up and let's get out of here, blah blah blah. Finally, my friend gets to the checkout line, and he didn't come to the checkout line. He kept, in the back of the grocery store. So while my friend's at the grocery line, I'm like, oh, thank God that weird, creepy guy didn't follow us. And she's like, yeah, what weird, creepy guy are you talking about? I'm like, yo, I've been trying to get your attention this whole time to tell you that there's this one creepy guy. I feel like he was following you this whole time. And she's like, what creepy guy? I didn't see him. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't see him? The guy was literally behind you, like 90% of the time we were in here. What you mean you didn't see him? She's like, I did not see him. And then I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, the whole time she didn't see him. So I said, okay, well, bet. Like, we're gonna walk around the store and I'm gonna show you him before we leave. And before we left, we walked past all the aisles, and I could not find this man. And I didn't see him walk out. So, yep, there's definitely some shit going on. There was another occurrence that happened. This one happened in my neighborhood, but y'all already know my neighborhood is haunted. This one was when I used to have my former roommate. They used to we used to partake in magic mushrooms, okay? So now you could easily say, okay, well, this was, hallucinated, but whatever. They went downstairs to the corner store. So it was 2 girls and 2 guys. They went downstairs in the corner store, and it was the corner store to the right. And pretty much my roommate had got her period. So that's why they went to the corner store in the first place, to get pads. When they got downstairs to the store, the pads are all the way up at the top shelf, and the girls couldn't reach it. And they had 2 boys with them, but the 2 boys were just like talking amongst themselves. And so the 2 girls were just up there wondering, mind you, they're smacked on shrooms. They're wondering, like, oh my God, how are we gonna get these pads down? Like, oh my goodness. The boys are standing right there. The girls are like, how are we gonna do this? And then they said that they saw these 4 men in uniform, 4 white men in uniform, walk up to them and say, hey ladies, like, what do you need help with? And automatically, as they're telling me this, I'm like, 4 white men in this neighborhood? In uniform? In this neighborhood, in this corner store? They're like, yeah, 4 big built, beautiful white men. And well, one of them was black. I'm like, yeah, they walked up to her, to the 2 girls, and they were like, it's okay. They grabbed the pads and brought it down for them. And they were like, oh, thank you, blah, blah, blah. So then they turned around to the boys, and they were like, oh, how nice were these, the workers that helped them. Like, they brought down the pads, blah, blah, blah. And mind you, one of the girls was like, that's not even one of the pads they wanted. So they were like, oh, don't get me that one, get me this one. And the guy switched it and gave it to them. So they were telling the boys, like, how nice these guys were, because, like, the boys were right there. The boys were like, what guys? They were like, the guys that helped us get the pads down. The boys were like, we didn't see a guy. We didn't see guys. So then the girls are like, so how did we get the pads down? They're like, I thought you guys just thinged them and they just fell. There was no guys. Till this day, we're trying to figure out what that meant. Where they saw these attractive 4 men at, whatever. Let's continue to the next story. But as you guys can see, look at this. It's so easy to detangle your hair with pre-poo. Take it from me.
No matter how sad the story is, do not let nobody move into your house. I'ma repeat, no matter how sad or crazy the story is, do not let nobody move into your house. I have a lady from Canada. She told me that she had her friend. Her friend was in a crazy situation and she became homeless. She felt bad. She talked to her husband and told the friend that my friend is going through a lot right now. Can we at least let her stay here with us for 1 month? The husband said, okay, no problem. You said 1 month. After 1 month, she gotta go. She called her friend and said that I want you to move in with me and my husband, and it's only for 1 month. The lady said that she moved in with them. After 2 weeks, the friend started giving them problem, and the husband was not happy about what was going on. He told her that you need to leave because my wife gave you a place to stay. Now, this is how you choose to pay her. You need to leave. She from Zimbabwe. The friend's from Zimbabwe. When the husband kicked her out, he went away with one of his dirty underwear and take it to a place to do witchcraft, to do voodoo, and have one of the bananas, which is a symbol of his penis, bury the bananas with his underwear. The lady said that after 2 months, she see that her husband is always itching. Take him to the doctor so many times to find out what's going on. Tell him to buy so many medication, and the penis never work. The penis keep turning like this, and she didn't know what to do. She didn't know what's happening to the husband. She thought that her husband was cheating. And the husband said, love, I've been faithful to you, and I never cheat on you, and I don't know what's going on. One time, the husband decided to tell his wife, I have one of my underwear that I like a lot, and I like it a lot. I don't see it. Where is it? They were thinking. They said that after the friend left, that's when they realized that they never see the underwear. Now they go to a place to find out what's going on. And they told them that there was someone in your house, and that person take your husband's underwear and bury it to a cemetery with a banana. That's why you see that your penis is turning like this. Rotten penis. No matter how sad the story is, you do not let nobody come to your house. It doesn't matter. Do not let anyone come to your house, no matter how sad the story is. If you can help them by giving them $5-10, do it. And after that, tell them you will pray for them. Be safe out there, people. I love you all.
you don't listen to anything else, at least listen to that. And even without like the threat of someone doing voodoo on you, I think I've just learned altogether, no matter how sad the story is, don't let nobody move into your house, okay? From me being kind and allowing friends to stay with me and them taking advantage of me, and also fucking harboring my energy the whole fucking time, to roommates and situations that I don't want to get into. Living with other people is not for the weak at all, okay? It's not for the faint-hearted. There's a lot of like matches made in heaven, but there's a lot more matches made in hell. So when it comes to like letting people into your home should always 100% be your safe space. This is the place that you go and you wind down and you hide, or you get away from the rest of the world, right? This is your quiet space. This is your anti-anxiety space. And so it should be like that. When it comes to allowing other people to stay with you, I'm telling you, like, unless you're really a person who loves company, who loves having people around 24/7, then hey, yeah, everybody's different, right? But just from experience, without the witchcraft, really, I just know that it ain't the best idea to just pass your crib to other people. You're gonna regret it. You're gonna regret it. Anywho's, when I tell y'all my hair is so stiff, I can't even put this bit in a ponytail. Like, anyway, let's move on to the next reaction.
I have an update for the insane mimic story that one of my followers sent me, and it is so terrifying. If you didn't see the first part, I'm going to give you a quick summary. My follower had been experiencing what seemed like a mimic in multiple homes, something that sounded like it was humming from her daughter's nursery, something that presented itself to her husband as her, like as my follower, but with long dark hair. And it was all happening in one apartment that they then moved out of, and in their new townhome, it started happening too. And where we left off in part 1 was that at the end of that email that I was sent by my follower, she said that she was really nervous about her husband being gone for 9 months with the military because she felt like whatever this was waiting for him to leave. The problem is that she sent me that email a year ago and I just found it like last week. So I reached out to her and asked her for an update, and what she gave me is crazy. A month into her husband leaving for 9 months, she is just feeling really nervous. She said the separation anxiety is kicking in hard. One night she wakes up around midnight, and when she wakes up, she was so hot when she was sleeping, there was like a puddle of sweat beneath her, but the house is freezing. And she's like, whoa, this is like way colder than it usually is. Not weird for her to sweat during the night, but it is weird for the house to feel this freezing. And she gets up from bed to go adjust the thermostat. And as she's going downstairs, she ends up falling down like 4 stairs. The weird part is that she hears something giggling after this from her daughter's room. She thought maybe her daughter heard her falling down the stairs and was like giggling at her. So she pokes her head into her daughter's room. Her daughter's dead asleep. And something I mentioned in the last video is that her daughter's closet light kept turning on its own. And when her mom looks in that closet, the light is on. She ends up lighting a prayer candle for her daughter, and as she goes to check the thermostat, it says it's 72, and she's just really confused why it is so cold in her house. She really just doesn't know what to do, and so she reaches out to someone she describes as a lovely medicine woman who practices herbalism. Basically, she gives her the rundown of what's going on. I think that the person who sent me this email also sells like crystals and stuff, so I think they're like business acquaintances. But anyways, this woman says that she's going to do a candle reading for my follower. And when the candle reading comes back, basically the herbal medicine lady is like, somebody put evil eye on you. She ends up doing some things, including an egg cleanse, and eventually gets like 6 months of reprieve from whatever this thing is. It seems like this thing just comes and goes at random. Things have been chill for months. So one night, she's laying in bed, just scrolling on her phone through TikTok, and you know how it is when your eyes just start getting really heavy, and she's kind of falling asleep when suddenly it feels like her entire body just starts shaking. She has this cold chill run right down her back, and she feels like she needs to open her eyes again. And she's laying on her husband's side of the bed where she's been sleeping while he's been away, and as she turns over, she sees what looks like a woman in a long white dress with matted hair staring back at her. And it's like hovering in the air, staring at her, she says. And it had these like long talon claws. And she is completely terrified. It is dark in the room at this point. It's just like her and her cell phone. So she grabs her phone, turns on the flashlight. And of course, when she shines the light where she saw this woman, nothing's there. And she says this thing that almost seems like her protection mantra, which is, if you are not from the light, be gone from my sight. And it seems like this always gives her a little bit of peace. So she says it, and then she tries to go back to bed. Somehow she falls asleep. But of course, something wakes her up. This time, it's what sounds like somebody whispering. And so she opens her eyes, and on the side of the bed, crouching in front of her, is the woman in the long white dress with the matted hair. Except this time there were no like distinguishable features. She was just a silhouette. And this woman whispers, "Now you see me." And the woman who sent me this email literally grabs her iPhone and chucks it at this lady. Of course, doesn't hit anything. The phone just goes flying to the other side of the room. She was terrified. Did not sleep in her bedroom again after that. Decided to sleep in the living room. In the month that followed, a lot of weird things did happen, but nothing to that extent. And then what's really strange is that she ends off the email by saying that when her husband got back, they ended up separating. But what's interesting is since then, since she separated from her husband, nothing has happened ever again. She said, "I think whatever it was attached to my husband, not me or my children, and it didn't like how strong of a presence I made in his life. But who knows?" No matter what, I'm really thankful for this update, and it's just really weird because her husband was the one who saw what looked like her with long black hair, and then she sees this thing with like a long white dress and like matted hair. Was it this thing that was like attached to her husband, or so she thinks? I don't know. You guys are gonna have to let me know what you think about this one, but so happy to finally have an end to this story. Stay spooky, friends. And it
Again, I've told a couple of stories about mimics before. Super creepy. So yeah, let's move on to the next reaction. I still got a lot more hair to go, so I really hope I have enough reaction videos to last me through my whole head of hair.
If you go to a nightclub and you see a pretty lady, watch your foot. Scary story time with me. And I know if you have intention or if you're from Trinidad, you would know this story very good. So there was this guy and his name is Austin, right? Austin went to a fair, annual fair that they have at Georgetown, and it was the Boxing Day fair. Georgetown is a village in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So he went to the fair, and while he was at the fair, they had an after party. So Austin head to the after party for the event. While he was in the after party, he saw a lady standing in the corner. Austin was mesmerized by this young lady. So Austin walked over to her and started to talk her off. Austin was not that type of a handsome guy, and this woman was so beautiful, and for her to answer him back, you know, he felt as though he won the prize. So at the same time, Austin asked the young lady, "What do you want to drink?" And she was like, "I want a Vitamalt." So Austin went to the bar, bought the Vitamalt, bring it back. They danced whole night. She was so beautiful. He was mesmerized. They were conversating. Austin asked the lady if she have a boyfriend. She said, "No, I don't have anybody. I'm single," and stuff like that. Actually, me and my boyfriend broke up a couple of weeks back. So Austin continued to persuade her because what? A beautiful girl, boyfriend break up. So Austin was like, "I have my own crib. Do you think you want to come over tonight with me?" Austin didn't have a vehicle, so they had to walk because Austin was living in Langley Park. So the lady and Austin was walking, going home. When the lady reached in front of Austin's doorstep, she started to jump. So Austin was confused. "Why are you jumping?" She started prancing and jumping, and Austin started to hear the song as if a goat or something was prancing. So he was like, maybe she have a sugar high, because you know, if you drink too much Vitamalt, you could actually get intoxicated. Like, so Austin now tried to open the door and pull her inside the house. Austin realized that she's still prancing, and he realized her shoulders are getting a bit hairy, and she's still prancing. So he decided to look down on the ground to see if she had on heels. This lady feet was like a donkey or a goat. He was so terrified, he started to scream for his life. This lady proceeded to get closer and closer to Austin, trying to suck him dry. Same time, Austin was living with some other family member managed to see when the
half female, half goat or donkey or cattle, whatever it was, ran away. The person who was living with Austin was his grandmother, and his grandmother told him, do you know you literally bring in a jobless in the house? A jobless is a half woman, half male. Austin is so lucky that his grandmother was there that night, or he would have gone forever. If you see a pretty lady inside a party, watch your foot.
Wow. I feel like that's a story I would hear from Haiti or something. That's very reminiscent of all the lugaus and shit like that. Like I'm dead ass sure I heard a story exactly like that in Haiti, as a matter of fact. Like, it's a Caribbean / African thing, I guess. All right, next story time. Don't got much breathing room because let me not even say it.
This story has a huge trigger warning because it has to do with violence and so if you can't handle either of those things, please scroll. This story is absolutely nuts. And if you've watched my page before, if I tell you a story is nuts, it is nuts. Before we start, I just want to remind you that my YT is the link in my bio, and I tell the same stories I tell on here over there, different stories, and also longer versions of stories I tell on here over there. So just remember that. I'll put the link right here for you for a second. So let's get to the story. So this story was sent to me by a girl named Ari. And when Ari was a teenager, she moved to the Appalachian Mountains. This house was literally in the middle of the woods. Now, it's important to note that Ari's family is spiritual. They don't necessarily believe in God, but they do believe in something. They know that something is out there. And if anything ever acts up and anything happens, they do put things like crosses on the walls and they do pray. Ari's family also often has dreams that do come true. And she says that this is more of a curse than a blessing because sometimes the dreams can be really off-putting. And then what happens afterwards can be very off-putting. And she herself especially has dreams that eventually do come true. Now, when she was a teenager, before she moved into this house, she had this dream. And this dream was of this demon man. And this man looked terrifying. His body was black. He was incredibly muscular. He was about 6 feet tall. He had horns on his head and he had a goat's head for his head. Now, in her dream, this being would just walk the halls of her house and it would be speaking in this growling voice, but it would be in a different language. She said that this language is not known to this earth. It's something like demonic and it sounds demonic. Now, she said that although this language was not of this world, she could actually understand what it was saying. She doesn't remember what it was saying, but at the time she could understand it. Now, in the beginning of this dream, her family didn't live in the house yet. It was actually an older couple that lived in the house. It was an older man and an older woman. And whatever this demon creature was, it was trying to make the older man go to the neighbor's house and unalive them in like the most gruesome way. The old man obviously did not want to do this, but this demon was not taking no for an answer. So right in front of her, this demon turned into this black smoke, goes inside of the old man and makes the old man go across the street and unalive the family of 3 that was living in the home. Now, the way he does this is he takes a shiny object and he's 4 times each. Remember that, 4 times each. Then he takes the mother's out and he squeezes it. All of the comes out of it and he uses that to write on the wall in the language that he was speaking prior, and then he also writes an upside down cross and the letters or the numbers 666. After this happens, everything stops and all of a sudden she just sees the old man swinging back and forth. He had unalived himself by then bam, the dream just goes black. And all of a sudden she hears this maniacal laugh. And the laughing stops and then she sees her family just moving into the house, happy as ever, super excited to move into the house. She's watching as all her family members are lugging all of their stuff in, and then she sees this demon just standing in the corner watching them. Now, I want you to keep in mind that this dream was not just a dream that she had one night. This was like a series of dreams that she had over a couple of days, almost like it was like a Netflix series or something. So she has this dream for a couple of days and then it just stops, and she almost forgets about it until the night before they're supposed to move in, and then she has the dream again. This freaks her out so much that she finally just tells her parents, like, listen, I don't think we should move into this house. This is really bad. And her parents are like, Ari, we already purchased the house. We're literally moved in already. There's nothing that we can do about it. They don't believe her and they move in the house anyway. This is a terrible idea. At this point, Ari just tries to shake this off because it's all she can really do. Now, it's important to note that Ari is incredibly intuitive, so she can read people very well. So much so that she can actually tell immediately if she's going to be friends with somebody and for how long she's going to be friends with them. She said she knows that sounds crazy, but she's 99% of the time right about all of this. So in the house is her mom, her sister, and her brother, and she is the youngest person. And they obviously had to move schools because they had moved. So everybody's making friends. It's about 4 months in, and her sister brings home a friend. Now, Ari immediately is terrified of this person. She feels complete terror and horror, her exact words, when she sees this person. She said that she didn't even think that this person was human. That's how terrified she was when she was around them. And she just got a terrible feeling about them. She didn't want anything to do with them. She thought that maybe this was just like a one-off feeling. It definitely was not. She felt it every time they were around. So every time they came over, she avoided both her sister and this person at all costs. And then weird things started happening, and they started happening directly after this person started coming over to their house. Things like her seeing shadows at the corner of her eyes, her finding things in places that she did not put them before, and then she would hear doors opening and closing, but they would do it 4 times in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4. You guys remember that? Now, her family had a rule in their house, and this rule is known by a lot of people in the Appalachian Mountains, and you guys already know what it is. You hear it, no you didn't. You see it, no you didn't. You feel it, no you didn't. And this was their rules. Only except she started seeing spirits almost everywhere. And she had actually sent me a story prior to this one about a woman that used to come to her that would comfort her. And I'm gonna put that on my YT, but it's important to note in this story, but because of that person, she actually wasn't that afraid of spirits. So she started talking to these spirits that she was seeing around her new house. One of these spirits that she would talk to was a little girl. And one day this little girl came and she sat at the end of her bed and she was just weeping. She was crying. And Ari asked her, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? And the girl did not answer her at all. She just points over to the closet. Now, she goes to the closet, she checks to see if anything's in there, and she turns around and the little girl is gone. And to this day, she doesn't really know why the little girl pointed to the closet. Now, this is where things start to take a turn for the worst. Ari says that she has never had sleep paralysis before in her entire life. But on this particular night, she was sleeping and she wakes up in the middle of the night and she cannot move. She cannot move at all. And she's just laying there. And she opens up her eyes and she looks in the corner, and what does she see? She sees the demon that she had seen in her dreams all of that time. Except for this time, it looked way longer, like stretched out longer, and it had this crooked smile on its face, this weird, crooked, abnormal smile. Now she's laying there and she still can't move. And at this point she says that she thinks that she actually couldn't move because of terror. She doesn't think that it was sleep paralysis. Because all of a sudden she sits up really quickly and then she just collapses and she passes out, knocks out, falls asleep. Now the next day comes along and she sees the little girl again, except for this time it's different. The little girl has absolutely no expression on her face whatsoever. She's not smiling, crying, weeping, nothing. She comes, she walks slowly over to her with no expression, and she just whispers in her ear, "Run. It's coming for you." Then she bolts awake. That was a dream. And now she doesn't feel good at all. In fact, she feels incredibly ill. She feels defeated, sick, and she's literally on the verge of tears. So she goes up to her mom and she's like, "Listen, Mom, I cannot go to school today. I do not feel well." And her mom's like, "Okay, that's fine. You can stay home with your dad." So she stays home with her dad, and she's just sitting in her room at this point, defeated, crying, and terrified. Now this is where it gets absolutely insane, because she realizes something. Her father is not acting like himself. He comes into her room while she's sitting on her bed. He stops at her doorway and he just sits there and smiles at her. Just stands there smiling at her, not saying anything. When in an instance, he turns into something that she does not recognize. His limbs are in places that they shouldn't be. His legs are where his shoulders should be. He has fingers coming out of his head. He has feet in the middle of his torso. Oh my God. So she just freaks out. She's petrified at this point, about to lose her ever-loving mind, when all of a sudden something takes over her and she loses all of that fear and gets infuriated. She is beside herself with anger. She is so pissed at this thing for terrorizing her in her sleep, for terrorizing her family, and now it's doing this to her father. Oh, hell no. She jumps on it and starts wrestling with it, literally wrestling with her father, but she doesn't feel its extra limbs at this point. She literally just feels her father, like she feels a body at this point. And the creepiest thing about this is it's just smiling the entire time that she's wrestling with it. So she doesn't want to do anything to like really hurt heard it. She knows that it's her father. So she trips it and then she runs past it. She runs past it. She goes to her mother's room. She grabs a cross and then she hauls butt outside. And she's outside and she's literally just praying at this point. She is outside yelling, "You are not welcome here. I command you to leave in the name of Jesus." Then her mom shows up and she sees her screaming on the porch at Jesus. And she's like, "What are you doing right now? Are you insane?" And then she runs inside. She sees her father and she sees what she looks like too. And she's like, "Oh my God." And so she goes to her room, she grabs holy water and she douses her father with it. Well, her husband with it. As soon as she does this, he starts to shrivel up, but not like her dad shriveling up. Whatever is inside him is shriveling up, and it turns back into her father. And then her father just passes out. Then she realizes she can't move, and we're talking about Ari now. So she's just standing there, not moving. She's no longer in control of her body. And I forgot to mention that she had this thing. It's a... Someone in my comments before told me what it's called, and I totally forgot. I'm so sorry. But it's some type of like that you protect yourself with. Well, this was in her hands along with the cross. And without her doing it, something takes her body, grabs her, and takes that dagger thing and just shoves it into her mom. She literally her mom. And she said that she felt everything. She felt herself screaming. She felt her body doing it. She felt everything, and it was the most horrifying experience of her life because she couldn't stop it. Her brother then grabs her and puts her on the ground, and her mom and her brother start praying over her, like literally praying over her for like 30 minutes. Now, her mom had to go to the hospital and get 8 stitches from this happening. Her father, unfortunately, tragically, after this happened, really struggled with some things and ended up taking his own life. So that is crazy, crazy tragic and unfortunate. And if you guys could just say a quick prayer for her, I would love you for that. She said that she has healed from this. It did happen a while ago, but still, just show your love and appreciation. She will also be in the comments, so please show respect and love towards her and nothing else. Oh, so what do you guys think happened here? This was a crazy story, and I don't like, where do you think that this demon came from? Do you think that it was attached to the house? Do you think it was attached to her? How do you think that it got control over her like that and control over her entire family? Why do you think that that happened? So also, I forgot to mention that they ended up moving to their aunt's house after this. Immediately afterwards, they did not stay another night in that home, and they ended up moving out of that home. And guys, if you want to tell me your true scary story and have me recount it on here, then email me. My email is in my bio. It's kaisespooky@gmail.com. If you like true scary stories, I give them on here.
Wow. Another one. Another spooky one. This one was a lot. All right. Everybody whose story that I've reacted to so far in this video, obviously you guys will see their TikToks, and you guys can feel free to go to their TikTok pages, follow them, and now you have more than one spooky creator. All right, let's move on. There's more. This video is hella long today, longer than I even anticipated it to be.
This story is absolutely spine-chilling. This girl, Jenna, DMs me and she goes, "I have to share my crazy roommate story." 3 years ago, she breaks up with her boyfriend. They're living together at the time, so she needed to find a new apartment or place to live. She goes to work, she's asking around if anyone knows anyone that needs a roommate, and one of her coworkers says, "Yeah, I know this girl named Emily at my church. She's got a room opening up in her house." Jenna's like, "That's amazing. Can you set up a time for me and Emily to meet?" And the coworker's like, "Absolutely." They all go out, they get drinks, they have a good time, everything's normal. I feel like the common thread in all of these stories is that it's always normal at first. She goes to check out the place, it's clean, it's cute, it's like boho decor, which is Jenna's style already, so she's like right at home immediately. She's like, "This is gonna work, like let's do it, I'm gonna move in." She moves in, she starts to unpack all her things, and she notices that Emily is a little eclectic. When I say eclectic, I mean that she has little jars all over the place that are like labeled in cute handwriting, but they're just like weird collections. So she has one that says like buttons and one that says paper clips. There's even one in the kitchen that says breadcrumbs, but they're all over the house. They are part of the decor almost. So Jenna doesn't think it's that weird. She's like, "Okay, it's cute, like whatever." She asks Emily about it. Emily's like, "Yeah, I just like keeping memories." And Jenna's like, "Love that, perfect." And she starts like jokingly calling Emily the jar lady. Jenna and Emily actually become pretty good friends. They're living together for like a year at this point, and Emily is still collecting things in jars. She's got one out in the yard that says like stick, and she's always finding new things to collect. Then one day, about a year after they're living together, Jenna starts to get a little unsettled because she goes in the bathroom, she's like doing her makeup, and she notices on the counter there's a jar and it says at Jenna's trash, and it has one of her little makeup sponges that she threw away in the jar. So she waits for Emily to get home from work, and she's like, hey, what's with this jar? Like, I threw this makeup sponge away. Like, it's weird that it's in a jar now. And Emily's just like, oh, you know, well, we spend so much time like doing our makeup together in the bathroom. Like, it just reminded me of it, and I just like thought it was cute and part of the decor. And Jenna's like, okay, like not that weird, like whatever. And so she just leaves it. Then Jenna's out one night with some other people, and she meets this guy named Jason, and they like hit it off. They start seeing each other. Emily and Jason also get along. Jason's over at the house quite a bit. And one night, it's winter time. They're all in the living room, like watching a movie. And Emily gets up to go get a drink from the kitchen. Jenna decides she's also thirsty, so she gets up, goes to the kitchen, and she sees Emily in the kitchen holding Jason's jacket. And she's like pulling at the threads. And so Jenna's like, hey, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I actually love this material. I was just trying to figure out what it is because I want to buy a jacket. Jenna's like, cool, doesn't think anything of it. A couple days later, she realizes she left her phone charger somewhere, so she goes in Emily's room while she's at work to borrow her phone charger. And then she sees on Emily's dresser there's a jar, and it's labeled Jason, and it has the threads from the jacket in the jar, and there's also like a couple human hairs. So this is also like deeply unsettling to Jenna because she's like, why is she collecting Jason's stuff? She starts thinking maybe Emily has like a hoarding problem, but she doesn't want to like call her out because they get along so well. They're such good friends at this point. So she just ignores it. But she does say that at that point, she didn't really feel comfortable with like Jason coming over to the house much anymore. So she starts spending more time at Jason's place instead of him coming over to their house. So she's not home as much, and Emily doesn't really like this. She starts texting Jenna when she's over at Jason. She's like, hey, you need to come home. Like, we haven't spent any time together. I really miss you. I feel like our friendship is like fading. And Jenna feels guilty about this at first. She's like, yeah, I really have been spending a lot of time with Jason. So she makes more of an effort to spend time with Emily. But it doesn't matter because Emily is like increasingly upset anytime Jenna goes over to Jason's house. So one night Jenna decides she needs to address this, and they're sitting on the couch, just the two of them together, and she's like, hey, like what's going on with like, you know, you not liking me being with Jason? Like, you know, we're in a happy relationship now. And Emily basically freaks out, starts crying, and is like, I just feel like you used me. We had such a good friendship going, and now you just have a boyfriend, and you're just one of those girls that like ditches her friends as soon as she gets a boyfriend, and like, I just can't believe you're this person. And Jenna tries to reason with her. She's like, no, I love you. You're my friend. I'm just like, you know, I'm just really happy right now, and I want to spend time with both of you. Emily's not having it. She ends up like freaking out, crying, running into her room and slamming the door. Jenna's like upset. She doesn't really want to be at the house at night, so she texts Jason. She's like, hey, can I come over? And Jason's like, yeah, absolutely. Just like pack a bag, you can stay. So she's in her closet packing a bag, and she drops something behind this little shelving unit she had in her closet. And so she goes to move it, and she notices like on the floor behind the shelving unit is a jar, and it's labeled Jenna. And she picks it up and she looks at it, and in the jar is a pair of her dirty undergarments and a little folded up piece of paper. So she unscrews the jar, she pulls up the paper, and it's her mother's obituary, which Emily knew that her mom had passed away, but that was like way before she lived with Emily. She has no idea how she found the obituary. Like, she must have searched her name, but it's in the jar with her dirty undergarments. So she's like, this is freaky. I need to get out of here. So she takes the jar, she takes her bag, she goes over to Jason. She's telling Jason the whole story. He's like, I don't think this is a normal like living situation anymore. Like, why don't you just move in with me for the time being until you find another place? So she goes home the next day, and she basically breaks the news to Emily that she's going to be moving in with Jason. And Emily does not obviously take this news well. She freaks out again, and she just reiterates the fact that she thinks that Jenny used her. It doesn't matter. The friendship is not salvaged. She ends up moving in with Jason. She thinks her problems are over. Her and Emily don't talk after she moves out. She's living with Jason for a few weeks when one night he's like going out with his boys. So she's home alone. Now, mind you, Emily has never been to Jason's house. She doesn't know where he lives. So Jenna's in bed watching Netflix, and she hears the sliding back door open, which is weird because Jason normally always comes in through the front door. So she like gets up and she's like, hey, you're home early. And she sees Emily standing in the living room with a set of keys. Of course the keys are in a jar. Like, why would they not be? And she's like, hey, I just wanted to return these to you. And Jenna freaks out naturally. She's like, how did you get in here? Like, how do you even know? And she's like, hey, I'm just returning your stuff. Like, I'm just trying to do you a favor. I'm sorry for not like letting you know that I was coming over first. They end up basically talking, and Emily apologizes for being crazy, essentially. Jenna's like, it's fine. Like, we can talk about this another time. Like, I'm going to go to bed though. So Emily's like, okay, yeah, like just like text me. And she leaves. She tells Jason about this, and he does not like it. He's like, why is she coming into the house? Like, that is psychotic. They realized like they had not locked the back door because Jason had a dog that night and like whatever. So she just like, I guess maybe tried the front door and then saw the back was open and came. Like, I don't know. I would have been not okay with someone coming in my house. I'm sorry, Jenna. I know you're going to be reading these comments. I'm not judging, you didn't know any better. But then I guess they're cool until one day Jenna and Jason are out and they come home and on the coffee table is a jar and it's a photo of Jenna sitting on her bed taken from outside of her window. She takes a picture of it, she sends it to Emily. She's like, what is this? And Emily just says, I didn't do that. So they put up Ring cameras all over the house. And it's only a few nights before they see Emily standing outside of the house at night with a camera. So Jenna goes and immediately gets a restraining order. She deletes Emily from all social media, she blocks her, and then she starts finding more jars around their property line. One of the jars is labeled Jenna's dirty tissue. One of them has, I cannot say what because it's so disturbing, I can't put it on TikTok, but just imagine something that would be left after Jenna and Jason spent the night together and potentially didn't want to have a baby. Yeah, that's in a jar. She's still actively dealing with this. She still has a restraining order and she is going to be
included in this reaction as well. I mean, it is coming to an end. As you guys can see, my hair is almost done, but I do want to include this one really quickly because I thought this was funny.
To the thief that stole these dolls out of the yard sale at 3 o'clock this morning, you're going to regret it. They're haunted.
Had you waited till sunlight,
you would have seen the sign that was under them that said haunted dolls. If you have children, please don't buy. Okay, I put them in this glass hutch to try and contain whatever was attached to them, and it got so cold that it fogged up. Enjoy. No takesies, backsies. And not to mention, the only reason why I even sold them, had a yard sale to sell them, is because they threw a toy behind my baby and missed her head like that much. I was like, I'm done. And I had a yard sale and tried to sell them. Nobody wanted them because I warned everyone and showed them the videos of what these dolls do when they're in your vicinity. Because they were not scared to move right in front of you. Enjoy.
That, yeah, unfortunately I did run out of storage, so let's make this exit as quick as possible. I love you, my abducted humans. I didn't think Spooky Reaction Sundays was gonna take this long, so I will be posting a separate video of just spooky stories for this sometime upcoming this week. I just need to get a couple more stories in there, so it could be a longer video for y'all. But I promise this time for real, y'all, I'm gonna give you guys a another video twice in 1 week. It's cause I was so sick with the flu, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, that I wasn't able to hold my part last week. And here I am, literally just what's the word I'm looking for right now? I am freestyling right now because my phone ran out of storage, so it won't let me record on camera no more. So I'm out here using my Snapchat camera real quick, stopping and going. Thank God Snapchat gives you like 2-3 minutes now these days. Well, thank God for Snapchat, because I was able to stretch at least 9 more minutes out of this video that I could not stretch using my camera roll. So as you guys can see, just gonna add a little bit more because I have to let this sit in my hair for 15 minutes approximately after being done. So yes, y'all know how I started this video and y'all see how I'm ending it. So if I didn't convince you to get pre-poo for your 4C natural hair, I don't know what could. And if I didn't convince you or spook you out in this video, if I didn't spook you out in this video, I don't know who else could. So like I say in every single video, I hate to see you guys go. I love you, my abducted humans, so much. I mean it more and more every time I say it. Now I'm gonna let my hair sit for a little bit and then I'm gonna go wash it out. I love you, my abducted humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl. Bye.